Hey guys, so today we're going to do the unboxing and overview of the Mass-Drop Clark Audio Aeon X Closed. So these are the closed back versions of the Aeon X. There's also an open back version, which I've already done a video on before. And yeah, I'm looking for a good pair of closed back headphones because now I think for open backs, I've already decided on a pretty good pair of open backs, which are the Beyerdynamic T1 second generations. But for closed backs, done a few demos of a few unboxings and demos and comparisons. So the Focal Legias are pretty good. Then I tried out the Fostex TH610s, which did a comparison with some other closed back headphones as well. That one came out on top, but I still feel like there's something missing from it. Like the Fostex TH610s are good headphones, but I'm still looking for something with a little bit more punch, a little bit more energy. So the Fostex seemed to me a little bit more reserved. So yeah, I'm hoping to get something a little bit more dynamic, a little bit better soundstage. So that's why I'm looking at the Clark Audio Aeon X Closed versions, which I actually have never tested before. So some people online have recommended these and have recommended them to me. And they say that they're quite different than the open back versions, which honestly, I found the open back versions a little bit like not as detailed as I was expecting, because the Focal ELXs in the Beyerdynamic DT1980 Pros kind of beat them in terms of the soundstage and in like clarity. But who knows, these ones might be better. Also, I didn't really like the comfort level of the Aeon X open backs. I thought they were a little bit too loose on my head, but then again, the Fostex TH610s are also a little bit loose on my head too. So anyways, we'll find out. These are the closed back versions. They retail for $450 US. I got these online for $350, a little bit cheaper. So yeah, this one designed and manufactured in San Diego, California by Clark Audio. So Clark Audio is an American company that's probably most well known for making planar magnetic headphones. They mostly compete with companies like Audis and Hi-Fi Man, some of the higher end Meze audios as well. So those are probably the most well known, I would think, for planar magnetic headphones, and then all the Chinese manufacturers as well, but they're not as well known. So anyways, let's take a look at what we get inside the box here. All right. So yeah, Clark Audio, which is based in California, just like Audi's is. So actually, they're both planar magnetic manufacturers in the same state too. This basically is some product care instructions here: warranty, replacing earpads, carry case, and yeah, they're based in San Diego, one of my favorite cities actually. Really nice city. Probably want to retire there someday. Here we go, Drop Aeon X. So of course it's a Mass-Drop collab, which generally I have liked. The Aeon X opens, I wasn't too impressed with the opens, but the Focal ELX, which is another Drop collaboration, I think those are quite impressive for me. I didn't end up choosing the ELXs because they're a little bit too clinical sounding, but they're good headphones, very detailed. Okay. Oh yeah, the soundstage for the Focal ELXs I didn't think was as impressive as the Beyer DT1980 Pros as well. Okay, so we have the drivers are 62mm by 34mm Clark Audio design, single-ended planar magnetic drivers. So of course these are planar mag headphones, just like all of Clark Audio stuff. They used to be known as Mr. Speakers, by the way, but yeah, they are well known for making planar magnetic headphones. Titanium headband, leather comfort strap, synthetic leather ear pads. For fit adjustments, hopefully they're more comfortable than the Aeon X Opens, which I found a little bit too loose. And the cable attachment. I wonder if these cables are, oh, they're using Hero style connectors. Yeah, I wonder how easy it is to find third-party connectors for these. Like, say I want to attach a balanced connector. Would it be easy to find a balanced Hirose style connector, I wonder? That's probably something I might want to do if I'm going to be using these as my main headphones, right? To have a balanced connector, but we'll see how easy they are to replace. Okay, so next we get tuning material to allow you to customize your headphone sound to your taste. So different ear pads for different sounds, because ear pads can change the sound of a headphone. Yeah, so looks like we get 4 different pads here. Yeah, 4 different pads. Interesting. And supposedly all of them have different tunings. Black foam, black felt, notch white felt, 2-notch white felt. They recommend you to burn in these headphones for 100 to 200 hours. That's quite a bit. And then process use a V-planar technique. Steady state. Okay, so gotta make sure that these headphones get used for 100 to 200 hours before they settle in. That's quite a bit of time. So yeah, just like speakers, I guess some headphones have to be burned in. Comes with a tuning kit. Interesting. Okay, I haven't seen that before in other headphones, a tuning kit. Damping softens the highs. Okay, weld felts burn in as a fabric cell 1 to 2 days of normal use. Refer to combined materials. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that you can tune headphones by using different kind of tuning materials. Are these pads then for the headphones? Okay, not really sure how to use these, but these first headphones I've seen with tuning materials. I haven't seen that before in other headphones. Okay, cool. All right, so there's nothing else in the box, by the way, but yeah, this is the case that comes with the headphone. Just says DC audio on here. It's not like a huge case. It's pretty decent size, but it's not like as big as my barrier dynamic cases or anything. I would say they're a little bit more, compared to like Focal cases, probably around the same size. Like Focal cases are like this size, I guess, as well. Generally, these are smaller than the barrier dynamic cases, but about the same size as Focal cases. Okay, this is what the headphones look like. Alright, so these are the Hirose style connectors. I wonder how easy it is to find third-party connectors online for this, because I might want to get bounced connectors in the future. Since, yeah, I use a DAP as my main source, and it just provides more power on the 4.4mm bounced. So, yeah, comes with a 6.3mm or a 1/4" adapter. Of course, this is for desktop headphone amps and stuff. A lot of things use this connector. But for more portable sources, you have your standard 3.5mm as well. So, yep, it's just pretty much standard. You usually get this kind of adapters with high-end headphones anyways. But yeah, I would like to have a balanced connector at some point. So definitely, I wonder how easy it is to find these Hirose style connectors online. All right, so this is the Aeon X Closed, which honestly looks fairly similar to the Opens. Pretty much the same headband as the open backs, and yeah, I don't really like the headband for the Aeon X. Honestly, it looks very flimsy. I've always preferred the Barrier Dynamics, which I found to be one of the most comfortable headphones. It's like Barrier Dynamics always made very comfortable headphones, whether it's the DT770s or the 990s or the DT1 990s or the Tesla T1s. They've always made very comfortable headphones. Audio-Technica as well. I think Barrier Dynamic and Audio-Technica for me have generally made the most comfortable headphones. But yeah, these ones, like, I find the headband a little bit flimsy for me. The ear cups themselves are pretty nice. Yeah, so the ear cups are nice. I just find the headband a little bit flimsy for me, and it sits a little bit loose on my head because of the way that, you know, the clamping force is like not that strong. So I think that's one of the things I didn't like about the Opens. Seemed to be the case with the Closed as well. I mean, it looks like the same design. So the only difference is it's closed back now. It's not open anymore. But otherwise, it looks like a similar design. Now, the design is pretty much the same as the Aeon X Opens. The tuning might be different, but the design looks pretty much the same as the Aeon X Opens, except, you know, it's a closed back now. So that means that it's better to use outside, you know, at home. If there's other people in the room, traveling or something, it's better to use closed backs so, you know, other people aren't hearing what you're hearing. So that's the advantage of closed backs. Disadvantage being that your soundstage often takes a hit, and the amount of detail might take a hit, but it really depends on the headphone. So really, in general, I think most audiophiles prefer open back, but But closed back does have its use cases because, you know, you can use it with other people around and stuff. But yeah, and these are the, you know, Hirose style connectors here. That's pretty much it. No fancy stuff going on here because it's an audiophile headphone. There's no like, it's not mainstream, you know, wireless noise canceling, you know, that kind of stuff. It doesn't have any of that because this is really strictly meant for providing good audio. That's the main purpose of this: wired connection, providing good audio. And yeah, and that's it. There's no fancy technology stuff going on here. Well, you know, planar magnetic is fancy technology, but I mean, no fancy, you know, noise canceling or wireless technology going on here. All right, so that's pretty much it. Design looks very, very similar to the Aeon X Open as expected, I guess. But I'll have to see how the sound is like. And already I can tell the headband is not something that I would like because personally I didn't like the headband on the Aeon X Opens. I thought it was too loose, but we'll see. You know, maybe the sound quality will make up for it. But yeah, main point of comparison, probably I'm gonna check these out and compare it to the Fostex TH610s, which are currently my closed headphone of choice, and see which one I like better. Another thing is on the headband here, you can see it says drop plus Dan Clark audio, and this is also where you find the left and right ears. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, a very thin material. I really wish they put more padding here like Dynamic and Audio Technica does, but yeah, not my favorite headband style. They put everything on here. Like usually if I check the left versus right ear pad, I usually check on this part here connecting the ear cups, but yeah, they put it on the headband, which I actually don't really like. So I would prefer they put it on here like Sennheiser does, or a Dynamic actually. All right, guys. So now I've used the Dan Clark Audio Aeon X Closed for a few weeks, and comparing it to my Fostex TH610, which is my current closed back headphones. Yeah, I think these are both very good closed back headphones for the price. Both are around the same price range, like $400, $500. And yeah, it's hard for me to still choose one. I know I was looking to replace the Fostex, but I don't think the Dan Clark Aeon X Closed is like straight up upgrade in every way, because you know there's pros and cons of every headphone actually in the same price range. And here, these two are pretty close, I'd say. The main thing I noticed about the Dan Clark Aeon X Closed is that the sound stage is definitely wider on these. So yeah, when I listen to the Closed X, yeah, the soundstage is definitely wider, but that's not necessarily always a good thing. I think people usually think of, you know, wider soundstage is better, but actually if you want to hear the instruments and vocals and everything more close up, like more intimate, then the Fostex is definitely better. So yeah, wider soundstage doesn't always mean a better thing, because at least from this, what I hear is definitely there's a wider soundstage, but also things sound farther away as a result. Because it's so wide. So yeah, you know, some people like prefer that to have a wider soundstage, but others might prefer a more intimate presentation, and that's actually where the Fostex strength lies. So yeah, they're both very detailed. The mid-range is both very detailed on both of them. They're both also fairly balanced. I wouldn't say that one is like, you know, more V-shaped or whatever than the other. They're both fairly balanced headphones, more towards the leaning towards more the neutral side. Not completely neutral, of course, but they lean towards a more balanced presentation. So not too much treble, not too much bass. It's just fairly balanced. I prefer the treble on the Dan Clark Aeon X Closed. I think that, you know, this is the planar magnetic strength, is that usually they produce very detailed highs. So definitely I think for the highs, the Dan Clarks win. But then for the lows, the bass, this is where the dynamic driver strength lies, is in the bass reproduction. So the Fostex TH610 actually reproduces very good detailed bass, which I actually prefer over the Dan Clarks. So yeah, it's not a straight up win to Dan Clarks, honestly. So this is both of these headphones around the same price range are both have their pros and cons. Yeah, the Fostex I think I actually prefer sometimes for the more intimate presentation and for the more detailed bass. And the Aeon X Closed, yeah, for the detailed highs and for the wider soundstage for some songs it works better, but not for every song. So yeah, that's the thing. It's like different songs sometimes can suit different headphones better. and you might want to have a more intimate presentation or a more wider, spacious presentation, depending on what you really want. I will say that for comfort, so I said before that I didn't think that the Dan Clarks are very comfortable because they're very loose. Actually, I have to take that back. I think I was being a bit harsh on the Dan Clarks. They are actually very comfortable headphones. I think it's because I was, in my previous video, I was comparing it to, you know, Audio Technicas and Bear Dynamics, which are all very comfortable headphones. But after them, yeah, these are actually quite comfortable. Like compared to like the typical Grotto or Sennheiser or Audis, right? I think these are more comfortable than those headphones. Yeah, it's actually quite comfortable. It doesn't look comfortable, right? It just looks like a thin strip of leather right here, and then this like thin wire frame. But it's actually quite comfortable. So yeah, and the ear pads are, you know, very comfortable as well. So I have to say, in terms of comfort, I was a bit too harsh on the Dan Clark Aeon X before. They are actually very comfortable headphones. Now the Fostex is more loose than the Aeon X. So I said before the Aeon X is actually more loose, but yeah, it actually has a decent amount of clamping force, I would say. Not too much, but decent amount. But Fostex is very loose. Like, it barely has any clamping force, which means I'm always afraid whether this will like slip out of my ears. So that's the thing. I don't think the Fostexes are as comfortable as the Dan Clarks. So in terms of comfort, the Dan Clarks win. The Aeon X wins. In terms of the design and aesthetic, I think the Fostex will win here because of its well, it depends on what you want. They're two completely different aesthetics, right? I prefer the wood grain on the Fostex here. Very natural, right? Looking very yeah, this is just a very classic, you know, looking design, right, with the wood grain finish. But, you know, some people might prefer the more modern, futuristic, spacey design of the carbon fiber on the Aeon X. So yeah, it really depends on what you want. They're two completely different looking headphones. Yeah, this one definitely looks more futuristic, and then the Fostex looks more vintage. Yeah, I think it's just different strokes for different folks here. The Fostex is easier to drive, and yeah, I'm just using them with my high BR6 DAPs. Definitely have to turn up the volume for the Aeon X's. I mean, they're planar magnetics, so their impedance might be low, but they're not as sensitive as these Fostex for sure. So yeah, that's something else if you want to know. If you just want to, you know, hook one of these up to like a laptop or a phone or something, the Fostex will definitely be easier to drive. And the build quality for these two headphones are both really good as well. So ultimately, I can't really decide between these two. I'm going to have a sound test listening comparison after this part of the video. So maybe you guys can decide which one sounds better to your ears. And then we can get my audiophile friend, Eric. He's actually done a lot of these videos before, where he's like kind of giving me some insight into which one he prefers. And yeah, maybe he'll shed some light on it as well. But right now, it's hard for me to decide between these two. So get my audiophile friend to help me out with that decision, and I'll also have a sound comparison test for you guys to see. And yeah, let me know which one sounds better to your ears. So that's it, guys. As always, thanks for watching my videos, and yeah, stay tuned for the sound comparison test and then my friend's thoughts. Well, these headphones are about the same price, around $400.
$400?
Yeah, Fostex and the Clarks.
Oh,
These are actually drop versions. So they're called Aeon X Closed.
Oh, okay.
And they have both a closed and open back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So $400 drop version?
Oh, you gotta check the. Yeah. One thing I don't like about this one is this sits a bit loose on the head. Can you feel that?
Sorry?
The Fostex sits a bit loose.
You see I adjusted a bit because for some reason this one was way too low and this one was way too high. So
I just feel like it doesn't have enough clamping force. It feels like a bit loose.
it's definitely loose.
Yeah.
But I remember it doesn't really matter because when they design it, they compensate for that anyways. Because it's loose, then like in terms of the sound, they actually compensate for it.
Yeah, I just don't like that it's like not as tight as I want.
But sometimes when it's loose, it's also more comfortable. So.
Not sure. I feel like it could be a little bit more tighter. I don't want too tight, but you know, like it could be like a little bit too tight. Yeah, it's just a personal preference thing.
It's pretty close, man.
It's just the soundstage on that one's wider, right?
This one?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's the main thing I felt, but otherwise it's pretty close.
It's really close, actually. I don't know, it's a tough choice.
Yeah, the main thing I noticed is that one. The Fostex, the instruments and the singers a little bit, the vocals a little bit closer. Dan Clark's a little bit farther away. That's the main thing I noticed. Otherwise, everything else is pretty balanced. So, they're both pretty balanced. They both have pretty good detail. Yeah, the main thing was just the soundstage difference between the two. And I can't say which one's actually better in terms of that either. So, what do you think?
I don't know, man. Pretty close.
If you had to choose one.
I don't know, man. I mean, as a compliment to both of them, I mean.
Yep, they're both the same price. They're just different tech, but they're both like. Yeah, the main difference I found is just the soundstage. Everything else is pretty similar.
Yep.
They're both pretty balanced, pretty detailed.
And then the Dan Clarks are a little bit more comfortable because of the headband.
It
the
is.
headband is kind of like soft.
Yep, the Dan Clarks are a bit more comfortable.
Just because of the headband, really.
Yep. Right, it's tough. Especially they're both the same price.
Yep. And there's a pure MSRP. Which one's higher?
Fostex.
Fostex are higher?
The Fostex originally MSRP is like 700 or something. But you can easily find it for like 400, 450.
But the Dan Clarks, it's a drop version. So it's a drop version of a more expensive model then.
Drop usually is a cheaper version of a version they already have.
Exactly, and normally that version would be more expensive.
Yeah. So that's the drop. The original version. I forget how much it was, but yeah, I think it's similar to the Fostex. So,
Dude, it's close, man. So close. I mean.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. The Dan, was it Dan Clarks?
Yep.
The Dan Clarks have a little bit more soundstage. The mids aren't as like up front.
Yep. Yep. The Fostex mids are more forward.
Yeah. The Fostex are kind of right in your face. The mids.
Yep.
So the Fostex obviously sound more intimate. The mids sound a lot more intimate.
Yep.
Treble wise, honestly, it's almost a wash between the two of them. Pretty close. And then the bass, I think, is a little bit more articulated on the Dan Clarks. Yeah, a little bit more like bass shape and articulation on the Dan Clarks. But then the mids are more intimate on the Fostex.
Yep.
Like, actually, personally, I like the mids on the Fostex more.
Yep, me too.
I like it being intimate, and it just sounds just more natural to me. But at the same time, the bass is a bit more articulated on the on the Dan Clarks. So,
I would say in general, dynamic drivers have an advantage in bass. I think they have a little bit more punchier bass, let's say. And then in general, planar magnetics probably have their highs are a little bit more detailed, but that's like generally speaking. In this case, pretty close, right?
Yeah.
Another thing I don't like about the Fostex, the cable's too long. It's the cable on the Fostex. I wish it was like a little bit short.
Honestly, if you're just using it at home, man, it can never be too long or short. Because honestly, if it's a keeper for you, you might even want to just get like some balanced cables for the future too.
Yeah, but actually, the longer the cable, the more like capacitance it has, right? So it actually will drag down your highs a little bit if your cables are too long.
Yeah, but honestly, like by a few feet, I don't think it's gonna make any difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, the other things, it gets tangled and stuff. It's too
Yeah.
long.
For like cable,
that's just
for
noise.
cable length to affect your actual audio quality,
Mm.
you're talking about like 20, 30, 50 feet. So 3 feet won't make any difference at all. So.
Yeah. But it's just annoying that it's like everywhere, tangled and stuff. Then I have to use an adapter because it uses a 1/4 inch jack.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to choose, right?
Really hard to achieve that.
So the MSRP, the Dan Clarks are 500,
Mm-hmm.
the non-mass drop version.
Mm-hmm.
The Fostex is 600, pretty close.
Pretty close, yeah.
I will say the Fostex are easier to drive,
Yep, well, definitely.
which makes them more compatible with more things.
Ah, dude, man.
Tough.
In terms of the audio balance,
Yeah.
I think I like the Dan Clarks a bit more for audio balance, because I think the bass is nicer on the Dan Clarks,
Mm.
and there's a bit more bass definition and articulation,
Mm.
and it's not overbloated at all in the bass, like not even a bit,
Yep.
but it anchors all the other ranges really well.
Yep.
So when you listen to rock, it's a perfect balance between the drums, the mids, and the bass. However, I really like how intimate the mids are and how the mids sound in the other one.
Yep.
I really am not too worried about soundstage, because like it's not like there's a noticeable difference in soundstage.
Yep.
For example, the Dan Clarks is equivalent to like you're listening to the band maybe in the second row.
Yeah.
In the
that's,
first.
That's what I felt too.
Yeah, it feels first or second row, like you're really close up. It's like pretty much like you're right beside the stage. It's like I'm standing right beside the stage, right
Mhm.
beside them. Like I'm standing right there, and they're just right there on the stage. I'm at the edge of the stage.
Yep.
Whereas the other one, it sounds like I'm actually in the band.
Yep.
I feel like I'm actually the singer. I feel like I'm actually
Yep.
Jimmy. I'm actually singing.
Yep. So they're different soundstage. I can't say which one's actually better though.
Exactly.
They're just different.
Yeah, it's just different.
Yeah.
But I like the mids a bit more for the Fostex and a little bit how intimate the mids are.
Yep.
Treble is pretty much a wash between the two of them.
Yep.
But the bass is nicer for the Dan Clarks, and the overall balance of the sound I think is a bit more reference in the Dan Clarks in terms of the balance between the three frequencies. But that mid is really nice for the Fostex.
Yeah. they're both pretty balanced though
Yeah.
in the overall things, right?
Oh, they're both pretty balanced. But I
Yeah.
think for me, the only thing about the Fostex is sometimes just the shape of the bass. I find is a little bit lacking in the Fostex, and I've always felt that even when I first tested it last time. That's why I always said, it sounds for certain tracks, it sounds like it's a touch bass light for certain tracks, but it's not necessarily bass light. It's more like there's not enough shape in the bass. Where
Okay.
it's a bit more articulated in the Dan Clarks. But the mids are, I like the intimate mids.
Yeah, it's really good for vocals, right?
Exactly, I really like the intimate mids. Yeah, so it depends. Like for example, if when I'm listening to rock, like when I'm listening to Jimmy, I love how like the mids, I really like how the mids kind of capture me for the Fostex.
Yeah.
But I love the balance though for the Dan Clarks though. Because in rock you want to listen to the bassist and you want to listen to like the mids and the mid guitar and also the drums. And I love that balance that the Dan Clark gives me. I can hear everybody in the band and they're all anchoring each other. I can hear the bass guitar.
Would you say the Fostex is a bit mid-forward?
Fostex? Yeah, a bit more mid-forward. Definitely mid-forward. That's why the soundstage is different.
Okay.
Yeah. However, I like how the mids captivate me though. Even in rock, it captivates me with the guitars and everything. Yeah, because it's just more in your face.
Right.
But I love how the bass guitar anchors itself in the Dan Clarks.
Yeah.
Now, when I'm listening to something that's not rock, when I'm listening to Amy Mann and stuff like that, and it's got a lot of bass, it's got everything else, a lot of stuff going on in the sound, but it's also a very vocal heavy type of track. So with the vocal heavy track, then I like the Fostex.
Yeah.
Because the voice sounds intimate. Like because when it's a vocal heavy track, it's not meant to have soundstage anyways, because it's actually a studio recording.
Yep.
It's not a live recording. So I don't really think like they recorded to have you hear where all the band members are, because it's a bunch of sounds cluttered together. And then for stuff like that, soundstage is kind of out the window. And what's more important is like I like the intimacy of the mids.
Yeah.
For music like that. But then when it comes to rock, then I can hear everyone anchoring each other, which is great. But it's also nice having the mids being intimate too, even for rock. But it's also nice having the bass being a bit more articulated in the Dan Clarks.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's really hard to say.
So I find it's really dependent on the song. So
Yeah.
like you some songs that the other one might be better than the other one, right?
Exactly. So it's pretty 50-50, man, like between these two. In terms of definition, they're pretty close, the two of them.
I will say the Dan Clarks are more comfortable though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bass definition, the Dan Clarks have better bass definition.
Yeah.
Like I said, make more shape. But then the mids are really nice and intimate for the other one. So I mean, what are you gonna do, right? And then sure, the other one's the Fostex is easier to drive. But then now this also comes in what you think. If this were for say a more powerful dongle, is that going to bring out even more potential in the Dan Clark? Because the Dan Clarks were going over 50%. Whereas the other one, the sweet spots are really within around 35 to 40%.
Yeah.
Whereas I have to go over 50% to get enough volume for Dan Clarks. So say something like another like dongle, the next level up ones that has a bit more power.
Yep.
Yeah,
Or if you
like-
get it balanced, right?
Yeah, or you get the balanced cable. Yeah. Or like that, was it RU7 that was coming out?
Yeah, Cayenne.
Yeah, that kind the RU7, right?
Yep.
That one has way more power.
Yep.
Yeah, that one has like almost double the power of even the
UA5. Yep.
Exactly. It's got almost 400, right?
Yep.
Something like that. Yeah. So imagine something like that running a Dan Clark. That'd be interesting too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My Hy-Vee has a decent amount of power, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, to me, I've enough for both of them. So.
Yeah. So.
But it's tough, man. Yeah, I get like some songs I want the intimacy of the vocals, but there's songs I like having a bit wider like breadth and soundstage of the Dan Clark.
Exactly.
So.
You see here, the problem here really for me is just that, like, let's just say I throw the soundstage out the window, okay?
Yep.
It still comes down to one issue, is that I like the mids on the Fostex, but I like the bass on the Dan Clarks. Because I find the bass, I think the Fostex, the bass was always, to me, its weak point. Like, it's just the bass articulation is just, like, there's not much shape in the bass.
Right.
Yeah. Like, the bass is there, but there's not much shape and articulation to the point where sometimes, like, I can barely notice it. Whereas I can hear that articulation in that bass changing, you know, in the Dan Clarks and stuff. Yeah, but then the mids are nice for Fostex. So yeah, 50-50, man. Details about the same for the two of them.
That's tough.
It's really tough. It's just funny though how my FLCH hold up to all these guys. So.
I think you just like the FLC's sound set, maybe.
Well, sure, but it is really good.
That's just what your preference, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but it is
that's why it's hard to compare to that.
It is just really good though. I mean.
But yeah, I'm surprised it can hold up to your audio in detail. The TA is one of the most detailed IEMs for its price range. So.
Yeah. Well, the only thing about these is just is the bass is more, and it's more prominent. The bass, probably a bit more articulation as well, but everything else is kind of comparable. Yeah. The FLC8S, in terms of the mids and the treble, hangs with any one of these, even the Thieves, like completely. Where it lacks compared to the Thieves is the Thieves bass is well, the Thieves bass is a bit more bloated, so they elevate the bass more. So that's not necessarily a quality thing. It's just they chose to make it more bass, more bassy. But I think the Thieves bass also has more articulation as well. So there's a bit more bass definition in the Thieves.
Okay.
And I think that's actually one of the strong points of the Thieves. Bass quantity might not necessarily be a strong part of what, that's just a preference thing. But it does have more bass definition or bass articulation.
Right.
That's always one thing that I felt that the FLC8S, the mids and the highs, the trebles, are world class. I mean, it's pretty much every bit as good as the Thieves. Except just the bass. I always felt that this one, the bass quantity is okay.
Yep.
But it needed a bit more bass articulation. And that's where it falls almost like the Fostex. Yeah. However, the mids and the treble for these are actually better than Fostex.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's just the bass falls with the same issue as the Fostex in terms of it still lacks some articulation. But bass quantity though for the FLCS is actually more than the Fostex, which is why, like, in a way, it's got more bass quantity than the Fostex, which I like just by a bit. But they both have the issue of a lack of bass articulation and bass definition.
I see.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but then the Dan Clarks are interesting because that bass articulation, bass definition is there, and it's not bloated either. So that's kind of like where Dan Clark's really interesting. Like, that bass is not bloated, it's just balanced, it's just right, but there's actually definition and articulation in the bass, so you can actually hear it anchored perfectly with the mids and highs. However, just having intimate mids of the Fostex is nice too.
Yeah, but of course you can't have both, right? Because
oh, you could, You could technically.
I think if you have more intimate mids, you'll take away from the other thing.
Not necessarily.
Right.
I think, for example, the Fostex,
Yeah.
if they added a bit more bass articulation, those mids would still be forward. Sure, like a lot of it's relative, right, in comparison. But those mids will still be forward. Like, because those mids are, like, if you strip out everything, you strip out the treble, you strip out even the bass, just mid versus mids, they're still different. You know, the mids of the Fostex versus the mids of the Dan Clarks. So honestly, if you just give me the Fostex with a bit more bass articulation, that would have been my perfect headphone. Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't have the bass articulation. It's just missing that one last thing. Yeah, I don't mind sacrificing a bit of the soundstage, but just give me a bit more bass articulation, bass definition, and I'm good. You know, with the Fostex. But unfortunately, now it's a 50-50 with the Dan Clark.
Oh man.
Yeah, so it's close, man. Very 50-50. Yeah. Same thing with this one. This is like near perfect, except for just the bass quantities was perfect too. It's just give me that little bit more bass articulation, just a bit more bass definition. But then the thing is, I can actually adjust this stuff because I have so many plugs that I can plug.
Yeah.
This is everything here is set to neutral. So if I change it to like the bass heavy one, I actually have a regular bass and also a sub bass thing that I can actually tune for this one. So I'm not sure if any of those will change it. So I could give it a try when I go back a little bit.